Assalamu alaikum everyone. Okay, so this is a simple Bajra cake and this is going to be the recipe for it. I'll link it up in the description as well. You can check it out over there. And let's see how this one goes. So the ingredients are as follows. For a 9 by 9 square inch pan, there's going to be sugar, 255 grams. Then I mix all the oil, yogurt and milk together. That'll be lit in the description how much that is. We're using millet or Bajra flour. So that's going to be 365 grams. Then 4 grams of each of salt, baking powder and baking soda. Then we're going to have 2 eggs naturally. And that will cover all the ingredients required. Just make sure when you're using your sugar to crush it into fine powder, because sometimes you will get left with these big chunks and pieces. I add cloves, so I added 8 cloves, and sometimes they don't get processed that well. So let's start mixing things up. So step 1, we'll start off with beating the eggs together. And if you have to separate the eggs, this is an easy way. Just crack the egg, put it in the bowl you want, assuming you don't break the yolk like I do. Let's try with the second one. So the egg is in there. This will seem icky, but just put your hand in and gently let the yolk come into your hand, and the egg white fall away, and you will have the yolk, and you can separate that easily. You can put it back in, nothing happens other than icky hands. So let's get started. So started beating up at low speeds. Then move to high. This is what it'll look like, doubly in all. Then there are multiple ways to go about doing this. Since we're doing a no-frill way of doing this, we're just going to go with just dumping things in. So we'll add the sugar in slowly. So it'll look like a gooey paste. After this point, I try not to use the egg beater or the whisks, and I try to use simple a spatula for mixing. Next step, take your flour, mix in all your ingredients. So that is how the difference of the millet bajra flour is compared to all-purpose flour. If you can notice, it's brown versus white. So we'll mix it in. Try to use a bigger pan. And we adapt. So bajra will have crumbs in it and balls, so just be mindful of that. You could sift it for a finer texture, but I'm lazy. There we go. Next, just incorporate your mixture of milk, yogurt, and oil. Do it about 1/3 at a time. And just fold it in. The reason why I'm not whisking it right now is I might separate my eggs from my sugars, and that'll be a mess to incorporate back in together again, which oftentimes will not work. So just gently whisk it. So bring it towards yourself and just make a circular motion. You will feel some sugars at the bottom, but they'll get mixed in. 1/3 of the flour as well. Same thing, just fold it in. This way you will not overbeat anything and won't risk running into the extreme of baking. But do make sure there are no dry flour. Everything gets mixed in properly. That is why people often use the egg beater to remove that possibility. So now you'll start probably noticing that you can't feel any sugar from the bottom of the bowl. You keep on mixing it, things will work out, inshallah. And flour goes in because why not? This will ensure that there are no balls created, hopefully. This will test your arm strength slightly, but endurance. And we have balls being created, but that's okay. Just keep on folding it in and they'll eventually go away. If they don't go away, just use an egg beater for a little while. And I'll show you how. So the balls are not going away, as you can see the chunks of that. See that? That's a dry flour chunk. So just mix things in. If you had gone the 1/3 or the 1/4 way, then you would have had these chunks, but that's okay. We learn from mistakes. And do remember that as soon as you mix things up and the baking powder and baking soda hits the liquids, they start reacting. So you shouldn't wait too long to get all these things get ready. As you can see, we still have chunks. Oh, that's yogurt. Okay. So we'll just use our egg beater slightly now on low speed. You will not notice any more chunks, but you see all these are bubbles. So you just do that and they will disappear. Right? So it's a very gooey texture still. I'll show you, it's very liquidy, not stiff at all. See? So that's fine. Cakes will get the structure from their egg whites and your leavening agents like baking soda and baking powder. So that'll work out. Next up, don't be like me. I forgot to grease my pans. Okay, so let me grease my pan here. That is desi ghee because we claim to be healthy people. And there's a lot of desi ghee. I should have used a whole lot less. Mommy's not in the kitchen, so I'll just live. If mommy's in the kitchen, use oil or butter. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee if you're going to be alive. Such are households. Items are valued more than kids. Okay. So there we go. Everything's done well. So there are no more spaces. Perfect. Wash your hands. This is an optional step. If you have it, great. If you don't, no worries. This is a baking strip. So this is a baking strip. Soaked in water for 15 minutes to however long you want to. So I did it when I turned the oven on. It works better on even surface bowls. Mine is thinner at the bottom, bigger at the top, so I have to be careful of how I put it on. It might get loose as well. Okay, this ensures that the cake does not rise unevenly. There's a flat top. Now I just hope this batter reaches halfway. If it does not, I am in trouble. Do not go more than half. Maximum 3/4. If you're going 3/4, add some aluminum foil or wax paper or baking parchment paper. So pour that in. Yeah, it's more than I would have expected. So for an 8x8, this might be also a bit more. I'll have to adjust the recipes. Sorry about the camera being blocked. So Normally you would take it and you tap it against the surface to let all the air bubbles come out, but since this is glass and I want to live, I'm not going to do that. So this takes care of all the preparations for creating the baked cake. Next we're just going to put it in the oven and we're going to bake it. And it's going to be at 350 degrees to 375 degrees depending on what your oven settings are. And we're going to bake it for about 45 minutes. But check after 35-40 minutes if it's done. Since this is glass, this will take much longer. If it's a metal, it'll take a bit quicker. If it's a darker metal, a bit less. If you have convection oven or electrical oven, it makes a difference as well. So that's why we check it a bit earlier. So let's see what happens later on once the baked cake is done.